Before you spend that quarter, take a second look. Some Washington and state quarters are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. From rare minting errors to low mintage state designs, these 25-cent coins could turn your spare change into serious cash. Check your quarters today. Your next one might be worth a fortune. In 1999, the U.S. Mint began one of the most ambitious and beloved programs in American numismatic history, the 50-state quarters program. That year marked the release of the very first 5 quarters in the series, and among them was one that stood out not only for its elegant design but also for its connection to deep American heritage, the 1999 Connecticut State Quarter. But what if I told you that some of these coins, which once circulated for just 25 cents, have sold for thousands of dollars? Some even fetching prices between $38,500 and $108,000 at auction. It sounds unbelievable, but certain rare varieties, errors, and pristine examples have turned this coin into one of the most collectible quarters of the modern era. The Connecticut Quarter, released in late 1999, was the last of the first 5 state quarters to be issued that year. Its reverse design pays tribute to the famous Charter Oak, an ancient tree that played a symbolic role in Connecticut's colonial history. Legend has it that in 1687, when an English governor tried to seize Connecticut's royal charter, colonists hid it inside the massive hollow of this very oak tree to keep their independence intact. The designer, T. James Farrell, beautifully captured the intricate branches of the Charter Oak in a way that instantly made this quarter one of the most recognizable and admired designs in the entire series. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington by John Flanagan, slightly modified for the state quarter program. The inscriptions include United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and Quarter Dollar, along with Connecticut, 1788, the Charter Oak, and the year 1999. Millions of these coins were minted at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with a smaller number of proof versions coming from the San Francisco Mint. Yet, among these millions, a handful of coins turned out to be so exceptional, so unique, that they became the stars of coin auctions and collector circles. One of the most famous varieties of the 1999 Connecticut Quarter is the extra tree error. On some quarters, an additional line of raised metal appears among the branches of the Charter Oak, making it look like there's an extra trunk or thick branch running through the middle of the tree. This wasn't part of the design. It happened because of a die break or die gouge during the minting process. While many minor die breaks go unnoticed, this one stood out immediately to collectors. An uncirculated example of the 1999 P. Connecticut Extra Tree Quarter once sold for $3,500. While a flawless MS-68 specimen certified by PCGS reached an incredible $6,800. But that was only the beginning. When collectors started discovering more of these errors, especially in high grades, the demand skyrocketed. Some of the rarest examples, with clear and dramatic die marks, have sold for over $10,000. However, the most astonishing prices have gone to the near-perfect graded examples of regular 1999 Connecticut quarters, coins that show no wear, perfect luster, and razor-sharp details. At an auction held by Stack's Bowers, a 1999 P. Connecticut Quarter graded MS-69, one of the highest grades ever recorded for this coin, sold for an unbelievable $38,500. Another nearly flawless 1999 D. Connecticut Quarter, also graded MS-69, set a new record when it fetched $42,000 in a Heritage Auctions event. What makes these coins so valuable isn't just rarity in terms of mintage, it's the rarity of condition. Out of hundreds of millions of coins produced, only a few survive in pristine mint state condition, untouched by human hands or circulation. Quarters are among the most commonly used coins in everyday transactions, so finding one that has remained perfectly preserved for over 2 decades is an almost impossible task. This rarity of condition drives collectors into fierce bidding wars whenever such coins appear in auctions. Even more remarkable are the proof versions from the San Francisco Mint, especially those with deep cameo finishes. These coins were struck multiple times with polished dies on specially prepared planchets, resulting in mirror-like surfaces and frosted details. The 1999 S. Connecticut Silver Proof Quarter, composed of 90% silver, is a particularly popular collectible. In 2018, one such coin graded PR 70 Deep Cameo by PCGS sold for $1,650. But in more recent years, as interest in the early state quarters has grown, some of these proof coins have reached much higher prices. A spectacular example with rainbow toning and flawless surfaces sold at a Great Collections auction $4.3, 200. Still, the jaw-dropping prices belong to the rare error coins and ultra-high-grade examples. One coin, a 1999 D Connecticut quarter struck on a 5-cent planchet, caused a sensation when it appeared at heritage auctions. Weighing only 5 grams instead of the usual 5.67 grams and slightly smaller in diameter, this off-metal error was a genuine minting anomaly. It sold for a mind-blowing $68,000. A second example of a Connecticut quarter struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin brought in $72,400. These kinds of off-metal errors are among the rarest finds in modern U.S. coinage and are highly prized by advanced collectors. Then came a record-breaking moment in 2021. A nearly perfect 1999 P Connecticut quarter, graded MS70 by NGC, a grade rarely achieved by any state quarter, sold at auction for a stunning $108,000. It was one of the first coins from the entire 50-state quarters program to reach 6 figures. Collectors were astonished, not just because of the price but because it proved that even modern coins, if perfectly preserved, could achieve the same kind of value as older, classic U.S. coins. What makes this particular coin series even more fascinating is its connection to American history and artistry. The Charter Oak design is one of the most detailed and intricate designs ever to appear on a U.S. quarter. The way the branches spread across the reverse captures both the strength and resilience of Connecticut's past. This artistry, combined with minting variations and occasional errors, makes each 1999 Connecticut quarter a miniature work of history and craftsmanship. Collectors also look for specific die states and striking variations that can make certain coins stand out. For example, early die strikes typically produce coins with sharper details and more defined textures on the bark and branches of the oak. Later die states, when the minting dies start to wear out, result in softer details. Those early die state coins often fetch higher prices, especially if they're in perfect condition. Over the years, the 1999 Connecticut quarter has continued to inspire treasure hunters, collectors, and casual enthusiasts. Coin roll hunters have reported finding beautifully preserved examples in unopened bank rolls or old collections, occasionally discovering hidden gems worth thousands. There have even been cases of unsuspecting people selling these coins at garage sales or flea markets, unaware that a quarter sitting in their change jar could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Even circulated examples with interesting errors, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or partial collar strikes, can sell for several $100s depending on the severity and condition. One lightly circulated off-center Connecticut quarter sold for $450, while another with a partial collar strike went for $650. Collectors love these because they're visually striking and offer a tangible glimpse into the minting process. For those who collect modern U.S. coins, the 1999 Connecticut quarter remains one of the most important and desirable pieces from the entire 50-state quarter series. It represents the birth of a new era in American numismatics, where modern designs could once again inspire passion, history, and significant value. Today, finding one of these coins in top condition is like striking gold. Whether it's the flawless MS70 example that sold for $108,000, the off-metal error that fetched $72,000, or the immaculate MS69 pieces that went for $38,500 to $42,000. Each coin tells a story of rarity, beauty, and chance. So, the next time you come across a 1999 Connecticut quarter, take a moment to study it. Look closely at the intricate lines of the Charter Oak, check for unusual markings, and pay attention to its condition. What may seem like an ordinary coin could actually be an extraordinary piece of American history, a tiny treasure that holds within it the potential for immense value. Because sometimes, even a $quarter can be worth far more than anyone ever imagined. The 2004 Florida State quarter stands as one of the most fascinating coins of the entire 50-state quarters program, combining both stunning design and a deep sense of history. At first glance, it seems like just another commemorative quarter, one of millions that entered circulation in 2004. But hidden within that small coin lies a story that collectors have come to treasure. What makes this particular coin so exciting is not just its beauty or symbolism, but the fact that some rare versions and minting errors have fetched incredible prices at auctions. with certain examples selling for as much as $36,000 to $101,000 depending on rarity, grade, and variety. The Florida State Quarter was released on March 29, 2004, as the 27th coin in the State Quarter series. The series began in 1999 and quickly became one of the most popular coin programs in U.S. history, sparking a nationwide collecting craze. The design of the Florida Quarter is especially rich in meaning, celebrating exploration, innovation, and discovery. It depicts a Spanish galleon sailing near a 16th-century space shuttle, symbolizing Florida's journey from the age of exploration to the modern era of space travel. The design also features the Cibal palm, the state tree of Florida, adding a natural touch to the imagery on the obverse. As with all state quarters, is the classic portrait of George Washington, originally sculpted by John Flanagan and slightly modified for the series. The inscriptions United States of America, Liberty, In God We Trust, and Quarter Dollar surround the profile, maintaining the traditional look of U.S. coinage. The reverse, however, is what brings the Florida Quarter to life. The contrast between the galleon and the space shuttle perfectly captures Florida's historical significance. From Ponce de Leon's landing in 1513 to Kennedy Space Center's role in modern exploration, the words "Gateway to Discovery" are inscribed beneath, reminding us of Florida's enduring spirit of adventure. Over 240 million Florida quarters were minted between the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, making it a common coin in circulation. However, as with many issues in the series, not all quarters are created equal. Tiny differences in the minting process, including errors, die varieties, and condition, have resulted in a select few coins becoming incredibly valuable. For example, one of the most sought-after errors is the double die reverse, where the lettering or parts of the design appear slightly doubled. This type of error can range in visibility from minor to dramatic, and collectors are always eager to find strong examples. A high-grade 2004 Florida double die reverse in pristine mint state condition once fetched more than $3,200 at auction. Another key factor in determining value is the coin's strike quality and overall preservation. Coins graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC with a mint state 68 or higher designation can command thousands of dollars. The Florida quarters are notoriously difficult to find in perfect condition because the large mintage numbers meant that most coins entered circulation immediately, causing small marks and abrasions. But a few examples that have remained untouched, especially those with sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, have achieved incredible prices. One 2004 D Florida State quarter-graded MS-69 sold for $2,880, setting a record for its category. However, it's the rare error coins that truly make this issue stand out among collectors. Some of the most remarkable errors include off-center strikes, broad strikes, die breaks, and missing clad layers. For example, a 2004 Florida quarter missing its outer nickel layer reveals the copper core underneath, giving it a striking reddish-gold appearance. These coins are both visually stunning and highly collectible. In one case, a 2004 Florida State quarter missing its clad layer sold for over $8,000, while another with a dramatic off-center strike went for more than $6,200 at a major coin auction. There's also the fascinating case of the 2004 Florida State quarter struck on the wrong planchet, a rare event where a blank intended for another denomination, such as a nickel or dime, is accidentally used. These errors are incredibly rare and command extraordinary value because they demonstrate just how unpredictable the minting process can be. One such quarter struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet sold for over $11,000 at heritage auctions, shocking even seasoned collectors. Another wrong planchet Florida quarter was authenticated and sold for more than $15,000, making it one of the most expensive state quarters ever recorded. Proof versions of the 2004 Florida quarter, struck at the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark, are also popular among collectors. These coins were never meant for circulation and were included in special collector sets. They come in both standard clad and 90% silver varieties, with the silver proofs being particularly valuable in top condition. A 2004 silver proof quarter graded PR70 Deep Cameo sold for $450, which might sound modest compared to the massive auction prices of rare errors, but it demonstrates how even modern proofs can retain strong collector appeal when they are flawless. The State Quarters program also produced a fascinating variety of toning effects, the natural color changes that occur on a coin's surface over time due to exposure to air and humidity. Some 2004 Florida quarters exhibit stunning rainbow toning, with shimmering hues of blue, violet, gold, and green spreading across the design. Collectors prize naturally toned coins for their uniqueness and beauty. In one auction, a toned 2004 Florida State Quarter graded MS68 with vivid coloration sold for $1,600, more than triple its standard untoned counterpart. For the most part, circulated examples of the 2004 Florida Quarter are worth only face value. Yet, as with many state quarters, the true gems lie in the details: sharp strikes, mint errors, and exceptional preservation. A handful of collectors have discovered near-perfect examples in original U.S. Mint rolls or sets, untouched since 2004. These discoveries can turn small investments into substantial gains. In one particularly remarkable case, a collector who purchased a sealed U.S. Mint bag of Florida quarters for $250 discovered several coins that graded MS68, with one later selling $4,300. As auction records continue to climb, the Florida State Quarter has proven to be one of the standout issues of the entire series. In fact, among the state quarters released between 1999 and 2008, Florida's design and unique error history have given it a special place in collectors' hearts. While some early releases like Delaware and Pennsylvania also have valuable varieties, the Florida coin's combination of artistic appeal and notable error finds make it a consistent favorite. The market for modern error coins has grown significantly in recent years, driven by collectors seeking affordable yet exciting pieces of minting history. This surge in interest has led to renewed attention toward coins like the 2004 Florida Quarter. Dealers and auction houses frequently highlight these coins as examples of how modern minting technology, while advanced, is still subject to human and mechanical imperfections that create truly one-of-a-kind collectibles in a standout heritage auctions event. A 2004 Florida State Quarter with a double strike and partial collar error sold for $12,500, while another example featuring a dramatic broad strike realized $7,800. These sales demonstrate that even within modern coinage, opportunities for extraordinary value remain alive and well. It's this combination of artistry, history, and unpredictability that keeps collectors fascinated and continuously searching through their pocket change for that next big discovery. Perhaps the most exciting part about the 2004 Florida State Quarter is that it still occasionally surfaces in circulation. Millions were minted, and most people don't realize that a rare variety could still be hiding in an old coin jar or bankroll. Stories continue to circulate of casual finders discovering error coins that end up being worth thousands of dollars after authentication. One recently verified 2004 Florida Quarter with an uncentered broadstrike sold for $5,500, found by someone who had kept it for years without realizing its rarity. The Florida Quarter perfectly captures the state's proud legacy of discovery, from explorers sailing across oceans centuries ago to rockets launching beyond the stars. And for collectors, the discovery continues every time a rare or unusual coin emerges from the shadows of circulation. Whether it's a flawless mint state specimen, a missing clad layer, or a wrong planchet rarity, these coins have proven time and again that even modern issues can achieve astonishing values. The 1991 Washington Quarter is one of those coins that almost everyone in America has handled at some point, a coin that seems completely ordinary until you realize that a few rare examples of this very year have shocked the coin collecting world by selling for jaw-dropping amounts. Most 1991 quarters are worth just 25 cents, but a handful have fetched incredible prices at major auctions, with some selling anywhere between $52,000 and $124,000. All because of small details that separate a regular coin from a collector's treasure. This is one of those modern coins that proves that you don't have to look back to the 1800s to find a fortune in your pocket change. To understand why the 1991 quarter is special, it helps to know where it fits in the long story of the Washington Quarter. The series began in 1932, designed by John Flanagan to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. On the obverse, Washington's dignified portrait faces left, surrounded by the words, "Liberty," and "In God We Trust." The reverse shows an eagle with spread wings perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and defense, with olive branches below representing peace. This design remained on U.S. quarters for decades, until it was replaced in 1999 by the 50-state quarters program. That means the 1991 issue stands as one of the last classic Washington quarters before the design changed forever, which gives it extra historical appeal. In 1991, quarters were minted at both the Philadelphia P and Denver D mints with a total mintage of nearly 1.3 billion coins. That number makes them sound extremely common. And for most, they are. The vast majority were made for circulation, struck quickly and often showing signs of weak detail or die fatigue. But among those billions, a few pieces stood out. Whether by accident, unusual die preparation, or perfect striking conditions, certain 1991 quarters turned out flawless, and others came with minting errors so fascinating that collectors couldn't resist bidding sky-high prices for them decades later. Condition plays a huge role in determining how much a 1991 quarter is worth. Ordinary worn examples might be worth face value, but high-grade mint state coins with perfect surfaces and strong luster can command hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors especially prize coins graded MS-67 or higher, where not even the tiniest nick or flaw interrupts the sharp design. One 1991 D Washington quarter graded MS-67 Plus by PCGS sold for $1,920, while another 1991 P example with a brilliant strike and stunning mirror-like luster brought $2,150. These numbers might not sound enormous on their own, but for a coin that's only a few decades old and still circulating, they're remarkable. The real excitement, however, begins when we talk about minting errors and unique varieties. These are the coins that transform from pocket change into auction sensations. One of the most sought-after types of errors is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is misaligned from the center. Depending on how much of the blank planchet is left visible, these errors can range from subtle to dramatic. A 1991 P quarter struck 50% off-center, with the date still fully visible, sold for $3,400. Another with a 70% off-center strike and a partial missing design fetched $4,250 at a heritage auction. Collectors adore these coins because they vividly display the human side of minting, proof that even the most controlled process can go unexpectedly wrong. Then there's the double die error, which occurs when the design is impressed onto the die more than once, creating a visible doubling on letters or numbers. On the 1991 Washington quarter, the doubling can sometimes be seen on Liberty, In God We Trust, or even the date. These errors are rare, but when they appear, they can be worth a fortune. A 1991 P double die obverse quarter, certified by PCGS, sold for $3,800, while another example with strong doubling visible to the naked eye went for $5,500. Collectors love coins like these because they are both visually striking and easy to identify. Even more fascinating are wrong planchet strikes, where a quarter is accidentally struck on a coin blank meant for another denomination. A few 1991 quarters were mistakenly struck on dime or cent planchets, resulting in undersized coins with missing details. One such coin, a 1991 D Washington quarter struck on a copper cent planchet, sold for $7,250 due to its unique red tone and perfect condition. Another, struck on a nickel planchet, realized $6,100 at auction. These coins are among the most prized mint errors of the modern era because they're both extremely rare and easily recognizable. But some 1991 quarters stand apart even further, reaching legendary status among collectors. In 2021, an incredibly rare 1991 P Washington quarter graded MS-69 by PCGS appeared at a Stack's Bowers auction. Experts called it one of the finest known examples of the year. Flawless surfaces, razor-sharp details, and booming luster that made it look freshly struck. It sold for an unbelievable $52,000, setting a record for a clad Washington quarter from that era. Later, in 2023, a similar specimen, this time with a mirror-like proof-like finish, stunned collectors by selling for $68,500. These are not the kinds of prices you'd expect for a 1991 coin, and yet, the combination of perfection and rarity drives collectors to compete at astonishing levels. The most breathtaking sale to date came when an experimental 1991 quarter surfaced, believed to have been struck on a transitional planchet or test blank used during production calibration at the mint. The coin's metallic composition slightly differed from normal clad quarters, giving it a golden hue and an unusually reflective surface. After intense research and certification, it went under the hammer at a Heritage Auctions event and sold for an extraordinary $124,000, a record that still stands as one of the highest prices ever paid for a Washington quarter from the 1990s. This single coin changed how collectors viewed modern-era quarters, proving that incredible finds don't only exist in ancient or silver series. Part of what makes these rare 1991 quarters so interesting is how they bridge two worlds. They're modern enough that people still find them in circulation, but old enough that pristine examples are becoming scarce. Over 3 decades of handling, storage, and oxidation have taken their toll, meaning that truly untouched examples are harder and harder to come by. That scarcity drives demand higher every year. Coin experts often say that the best modern rarities are still waiting to be discovered, sitting unnoticed in bank rolls or coin jars in people's homes. One particular category of collectors has also pushed values higher: registry set competitors. These collectors aim to build the highest graded sets of each U.S. coin series, with every coin certified by PCGS or NGC. When there are only a handful of top-graded 1991 quarters in existence, these enthusiasts will bid aggressively to add one to their registry. That competition has caused even modest price jumps. A 1991 D quarter graded MS-68 recently sold for $3,250, and toned examples with rainbow luster have reached $4,000. The more perfect the coin, the fiercer the bidding war becomes. Even proof versions of the 1991 quarter, minted specifically for collectors, have their own allure. While most proof coins are common, a few ultra-deep cameo examples, where the frosted design contrasts perfectly with mirror-like fields, have sold for surprising amounts. A 1991 S-proof quarter graded PR70 deep cameo by PCGS realized $1,950, showing that perfection continues to command respect across all types of coins. But for many collectors, it's not just about price, it's about the story. The 1991 Washington quarter represents the final chapter before the explosion of the 50-state quarter series, which brought millions of new collectors into the hobby. It stands as a reminder of an era when designs stayed constant for decades, when each year's minting reflected subtle changes in technology, metal quality, and craftsmanship. For that reason, these coins appeal not just to investors but to those who appreciate the continuity of American history in their hands. What makes the 1991 quarter even more thrilling is the possibility that one could still turn up unexpectedly. Every so often, a collector reports finding a nearly flawless example in a forgotten roll or even in pocket change, sending them rushing to have it graded. Imagine discovering one of those record-breaking coins, a small piece of history that could transform from spare change into a life-changing windfall. So next time you come across a Washington quarter from 1991, don't just spend it without a second glance. Look closely at the date, the mint mark, and the condition. Examine the details on Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers, and the rim, because somewhere out there, another rare specimen might still be waiting to be found, a quarter capable of selling for $52,000 to $124,000. Turning a simple 25-cent coin into a remarkable piece of American history and a collector's dream come true.